The sound of rain tapped gently against the window as Aria Malik scrolled through her messages, her lips curving into a faint smile. It had been months of endless overtime, skipped weekends, and sleepless nights, all for one dream: to take her parents and younger sister on a family vacation they would never forget. It was supposed to be her way of saying thank you for everything they had done for her. When her bonus finally came in, Aria didn't hesitate. She booked the tickets, reserved the villa overlooking the turquoise ocean, and even paid for the upgrades her parents loved: private dinners, spa treatments, island tours. The total nearly emptied her savings, but she didn't care. The thought of seeing their faces light up with joy was worth more than anything. A week later, she called home, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Hey, Mom, did you get the booking email? I was thinking we could leave next weekend." There was a pause on the other end, followed by her mother's casual tone. "Oh, sweetheart, we went last week. The Maldives were beautiful. You should have seen the water. It was crystal clear." Aria froze. "What do you mean, you went?" she whispered, her chest tightening. Her mother chuckled softly, as if nothing was wrong. "The whole family went last week. Your father, your sister, even your uncle joined us. It was amazing." For a moment, the world seemed to blur around her. She could hear the faint hum of the ceiling fan, the rhythmic ticking of the clock, and her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. "I paid for that trip," Aria said finally, her voice trembling. "Yes, we know, darling. You're always so generous," her mother replied warmly. "We didn't want to bother you. You're always busy with work. You wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway." Her mother's words pierced deeper than she expected. All those late nights for weeks after the phone call, Aria didn't speak to her parents. The silence stretched like an invisible wall between them, cold, heavy, unbreakable. Every time her phone lit up with her mother's name, she watched it ring until it stopped. Then she'd stare at the dark screen, wondering how love could turn so quickly into something that hurt to even look at. Her friends didn't understand. Maybe it was a mistake, they said, but mistakes didn't post smiling beach photos online. Mistakes didn't involve captions like "family vacation of a lifetime," while the one who made it possible sat in her tiny apartment, eating instant noodles after a double shift. Aria replayed that moment on the phone over and over. "Mom, when are we leaving?" she had asked, voice light with excitement. Her mother had replied so casually, as if mentioning the weather. "Oh, honey, we went last week. The whole family went. And that was it." No apology, no explanation, just a statement, clean, final, cruel. The first few nights after that, Aria couldn't sleep. The betrayal didn't scream, it whispered. It crept into her thoughts like a ghost, reminding her of every small thing she'd done out of love. The overtime hours, the skipped meals, the sacrifices. All of it for them, for the people who left her behind. When she finally answered her father's call days later, his voice was warm, almost amused. "You're taking this too seriously, Aria. You work too much. You wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway." Something broke quietly inside her. She hung up without a word. Days became weeks. Aria stopped visiting. Her childhood home, once a place of laughter and comfort, now felt like a museum of old lies. The framed photos on the mantel seemed to mock her with their frozen smiles. She wanted to throw them away, but she couldn't. She wasn't ready to destroy what little was left of the illusion. Instead, she buried herself in work. Every hour she spent earning, every project she finished, was a way to rebuild what they had taken from her. But this time, she wasn't saving for anyone else. One evening, as she walked home under a sky painted with fading sunlight, she whispered to herself, "They took the trip I paid for, but they'll never take my future." It wasn't anger that filled her then, it was clarity. For the first time, she saw her parents as people, flawed and selfish, and she saw herself as something more than their daughter. She was her own beginning. The silence that followed wasn't empty anymore. It was the sound of healing beginning, slow, quiet, but real. And beneath that calm surface, something else began to grow. A plan, a vision, a quiet revenge not of cruelty, but of success. A year slipped by quietly, but Aria was no longer the same person. The heartbreak that once hollowed her out had become the very fire that rebuilt her. She had quit her job at the small firm where she'd been overworked and underpaid, using every ounce of her savings, what was left after her parents' betrayal, to start something of her own. It began with a simple idea, creating a space where people could rest, heal, and feel valued, something she herself had been denied. With fierce determination, sleepless nights, and an unbreakable will, she built Azure Haven, a seaside resort designed for renewal. Every detail bore her touch, from the soft candlelight in the rooms to the sound of waves echoing through open balconies. It wasn't just a business, it was her redemption. Success came quietly at first, then all at once. Influencers wrote about her resort. Couples booked months in advance. Investors reached out. And for the first time, Aria tasted the sweetness of victory born not from revenge, but from rising. One bright morning, her phone buzzed with a familiar voice she hadn't heard in months. "Aria, we heard about your resort. It's all over the news. You must be so proud." It was her mother, sounding cheerful and curious. "We should come visit. As a family, start fresh." Aria smiled faintly. "Of course," she said softly. "Come this weekend. Everything will be ready." When they arrived, they were stunned. The luxury, the staff waiting with tropical drinks, the breathtaking ocean view. It was far beyond anything they had ever experienced. Her mother looked around in awe. "This is beautiful. How did you afford all this?" Aria's lips curved into a calm smile. "With the money I didn't spend on people who didn't believe in me. They didn't catch the meaning right away." Her father chuckled awkwardly, pretending not to notice the chill in her tone. "You've done well, Aria. We always knew you would." But Aria only nodded, her eyes distant. "Enjoy your stay. Everything here is on the house. Just like that trip last year was, remember." The words hung in the air, sharp but soft, like silk cutting through glass. Her parents exchanged uneasy glances, realizing too late what she meant. For the next few days, she treated them like any other guests, polite, professional, untouchable. They saw the strength she'd built, the world she had created without them. And as they left, her mother whispered, "We're proud of you, Aria." She simply replied, "You should be. I built everything you left me for." Her revenge wasn't cruel, it was beautiful. Success had spoken louder than anger ever could. The ocean was calm that evening, its waves folding softly against the shore like whispered goodbyes. Aria stood barefoot on the sand, the warm breeze brushing her hair as the sun dipped low behind the horizon. It had been 3 months since her parents' visit, 3 months of peace, of silence, and of clarity. They had tried to call again after that day at the resort. Her mother's messages were full of regret, and her father had written long apologies that sounded like attempts to rewrite history. But Aria didn't respond. She had said everything she needed to say without words. Her silence had become her boundary, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel guilty for choosing herself. Sometimes at night, she thought about the old days' family dinners filled with laughter, birthdays spent huddled around a cake, her parents' tired smiles after long days at work. Those memories weren't lies, she realized. They were just incomplete. Love had been there once, but it had faded under the weight of selfishness and expectation. Aria didn't hate them anymore. The ache had softened into something quieter, a bittersweet acceptance. Forgiveness, she discovered, wasn't about excusing what they'd done. It was about freeing herself from the constant replay of pain. One morning, she walked through the resort's gardens as the first guests of the day arrived. A family of 4 stood admiring the ocean view. A daughter laughing as her father lifted her into his arms. The sight made Aria smile, not with envy, but with peace. This was what she had built for others, a place to love and to be loved, even when her own family had failed her. That afternoon, she received a letter from her mother. The handwriting was shaky, emotional. It said, "We didn't realize what we were losing until we saw what you've become. You didn't just build a resort, Aria. You built a life without needing us, and that's what hurts most. We're sorry." Aria folded the letter neatly and placed it inside her journal. Then she wrote beneath it, "Some lessons come wrapped in pain, but they still teach love." She didn't reply, but she no longer needed to. That evening, she walked down to the beach alone. The same ocean her parents had once visited without her now stretched endlessly before hers, entirely. The horizon glowed gold, and for the first time she didn't wish anyone were there to share it. Her heart was whole again, not because they returned, but because she had finally stopped waiting. The revenge was never about making them suffer. It was about showing them that she could rise, heal, and shine without their approval. And as the tide kissed her feet, Aria smiled. The past was gone, the future was hers.